Hello, welcome to Astro Podcast with Jody. Hi, how is everyone doing this week? We are here for the weekly astrology report for November 3rd to November 10th, and there is a lot going on this week. So, welcome. Let's get this week started. Astro Podcast is filmed on Studio Cloud9.
Welcome to my weekly podcast.
Astro Podcast is produced by Power Boots, LLC. So, it is Friday. We are feeling very, very perky and excited and childlike with our emotions are exploratory. We want to see things. We want to go out and mingle with people. So that's where we're at starting this Friday. It's a good weekend in terms of personal development. This week is full of a lot of things. On Saturday, tomorrow, Saturn begins to wake up out of its retrograde period since June. And Saturn has been in Pisces since March. And as it wakes up at 0 degrees of Pisces, it is exactly where it was at when it entered Pisces this spring. So we are going to be going back in time and listening to what Saturn has been thinking about these past months as it's been asleep since June 17th. So what's going on with Saturn? So we're going to find out this week. Also, Venus moves into its home sign of Libra, leaving Virgo. After a few weeks, Venus is starting to pick up speed as it enters Libra. It's one of its home domains. The other one is Taurus, where we had that eclipse last week. With Venus and Libra, the way we value things are going to be more diplomatic and detached because Libra is a cardinal air sign. The way we value things will be more detached. We're going to value luxury because Venus loves luxury, but in a detached way. Also, Mercury shifts into Sagittarius at the end of this week on the 9th. Those are 3 planets having movements in 7 days. Things are picking up quick. Mercury is really fast right now. It's moving along, leading Mars and Scorpio, who will follow into Sagittarius on November 22nd and November 23rd. So with all this happening, all of us are being personally affected because Venus is a personal sign and so is Mercury. And the moon is in Leo. So right now there's a lot of emotional things happening to us, but the moon is here to remind us that we are made of light, that we are from the sun and the sun is light. And that within us, with the moon's help, to stir up our emotions every couple of days so we know what it's like to be human. The big news is Saturn awakening. Although it's at 0 degrees, it's going to be at 0 degrees for the rest of the month pretty much because it's a slow moving energy as it begins to wake up. So even though it's waking up tomorrow, we won't feel the full impact for maybe 2 or 3 weeks. And then we'll start to feel the energy of Saturn starting to say, hey, that coffee did me good. I like to talk. You guys want to talk? So that's where we're going to be at next week after that as it starts to move and wake. Maybe by the middle of the month is what a lot of astrologers are saying. By the middle of the month, we'll start to feel the energy of Saturn in Pisces. So today, Venus is having an opposition to Neptune and having a little spat with Jupiter and Taurus. Venus rules over Taurus and Jupiter's there. And Jupiter's also being ruled by Venus as it's there in Taurus. So Venus is really trying to change things up and clean up the past. Clean up things that are weighing us down. Clean up our value system so that we can move forward with our lives because we can let go of certain things we no longer need. With Venus opposing Neptune and Pisces, we could be a little bit confused and maybe not seeing things clearly. And that really has been happening for a while with Pluto having a square, having a little disagreement with the North and South Node. And that's going to go on for the whole year. We're uncomfortable. Venus doesn't like being in Virgo much because Virgo is so neat and clean. You can't really be decadent like you want to be, like Venus wants to be. And Venus isn't enjoying her time in Virgo, and now she's having a spat with Neptune in Pisces. But here's the thing, is that Neptune is a higher octave of Venus. So Venus rules over Taurus, our everyday lives, our food, our earth. Then Venus in Libra rules over our communication in terms of how we think and how we speak, what we value in communicating. So as Venus is having this opposition to Neptune in Pisces, which is a higher octave of Venus, Venus is really wanting to help us be more flexible and change. And so in Venus being in Virgo, where Virgo is a mutable sign, you have a little bit more flexibility with your values there in Virgo. And that's what's happening right now, is that things are changing. And Neptune and Pisces might be blurring a little bit of stuff for you in terms of what's real and what's not real. Should I value something that's not real? Do I need to touch it to value it? Can I touch love? Is love a real thing? Can you touch love in your hand? Or do you need to see it with your eyes? So that's the higher octave of Venus in Libra, the sign of peace. And then now Venus is getting ready to shift on the 8th. Venus moves into her second home of Libra. And when she moves into Libra, Venus here is more detached, because Libra again is a air sign that is cardinal. So when Venus moves in her home sign, she's the leader again, and she knows what she wants. It's peace. She wants balance. She wants harmony. She wants happiness for everyone, right? So when Venus has this spat today on Friday, opposite of Neptune, she's a little foggy, but when she shifts into Libra, things will start to become more clear for her, and she'll start to say, okay, I'm starting to see what I need to do, and I can be detached about leaving things behind that I no longer need. So that's where we're at with this week in terms of starting off today on Friday. Venus having an opposition, having a little bit of a square to Jupiter in Taurus that she rules. And we're going to have to really dig deep in Scorpio season to figure out what that is. And we can do it if we sit there in a space where we can think, where there's no distractions, where we can hear our own breathing. We can listen to meditation music. We can go and sit near the water. We can do all these things to free ourselves of outside influences that might be coming in, that is distracting what we're really trying to achieve and what the planets, the cosmic message really wants us to achieve, which is to level up, level up. And that's what this Neptune-Venus opposition is trying to clear us of, which is Venus here is caring about the self. Venus is a personal planet. And in Virgo, Venus would be critical of themselves here. So if Venus trying to change things in Virgo, because Virgo is a mutable sign, it's preparing us with the higher octave of Neptune to say, okay, is it better for me if this happens? What happens if will I lose the sense of myself, of everything I've ever valued and attached myself to? You don't have to lose everything. You don't. And that's the other thing that's happening on the 8th, November 8th. Venus moving into Libra in her home base, will start to understand the message of Neptune, which is about peace, and that there's a greater love for humanity, and that's the love that can lift us all up. It's the love we have for ourselves first and foremost in Taurus, learning how to love themselves, then going to Libra, learning how to have peace and communicate in such a way that you can bring about agreements instead of disagreement to the point of war. Then Neptune comes in and says, well, I'm the higher octave. And when you can love yourself and have peace with others, the next step of leveling up is loving all of humanity unconditionally. And that's what the age of Pisces has tried to bring us. And a lot of religions cropped up during the age of Pisces, and a lot of them fool a lot of people. A lot of them were cults, and some of them are still very prominent now. It's still causing disagreements in the name of God, their God, this God. But that's not really what's going on, right? Using religion to gain power and monetary things, which is not what the very last sign of Pisces of our zodiac sign is about. Pisces is about dissolving. It is a mutable water sign, friendly to Scorpio and friendly to Cancer. So we are in the Cancer moon yesterday, and today we're coming into Leo. And so now let's talk about Scorpio season and why is it so intense, especially having the Sun, Mars, and Mercury all together right there near the end of Scorpio, getting ready to leave. And like I said earlier, Mercury is the first one. It's the fastest brother there. It's out and it's going into Sagittarius. And when that happens, our minds won't need to be so probing and investigative and needing to know the answer to everything. Our mind will feel freer in the fire sign of Sagittarius, which Jupiter rules. And Jupiter right now is in Taurus. So as we go into there, as Mercury goes into there, our communication will pick up. It'll be much more optimistic because Jupiter's an optimistic sign. Sagittarius inherits that from Jupiter. But Jupiter also rules Pisces. And so with this combination of a spiritual learning that Jupiter has, and in Jupiter, in Sagittarius, it begins the education, the college years, let's just say, the higher education, the education of philosophy, of social studies, of understanding how we all are connected. So with Mercury shifting in there, it should help us a little bit wean off of this need for striking back when someone hurts us and seeking revenge. It can help us to move past that. It can help us to find the joy in communicating in an optimistic way, in a like a teacher, didactic way. And again, there's always the low side of all these signs. We know that, right? Not everything's glossy, bubbly, beautiful, right? We know that. So what are the downsides of all these planets doing this? The downside is that Jupiter can be too much, especially in Taurus, being ruled by Venus, who right now is in Virgo and is very critical. So Jupiter is not having a good time in Taurus right now either. So Jupiter could be a little bit cranky in all these meetings. If you can get all your daily living in, then Venus is happy in Virgo. If you can do your chores and do things that are of service to other people and your family, whatever it is you do, if you can do all those, and yeah, Venus is very happy in Virgo. By the end of the week, before I come back on the 9th, Mercury's in Sagittarius, and that will lead us into next Friday when I'm back. And that next Friday, a bunch of things will be happening coming up then, because we're going to be in our last week of Scorpio season. We'll be edging towards the later degrees of Scorpio, and Mars is going to be following next week into Sagittarius behind Mercury. Not this Friday, but next Friday, 2 weeks from now. This is a heads up in terms of, I want you to understand that these heavy powers that be, with the veil being so thin and we can feel and see all kinds of things, but we don't really know what's going on. Hold on to that, and the answers are going to start to come to you. But you got to hold on to it for a little bit and sit in it and meditate on it and try to say, what is happening? And for some of you, nothing might be happening. But I seriously doubt it, because when you look at the chart for this month, there's so many oppositions to each other's ideas, thoughts, speech. There's so many oppositions within us about how we look at ourselves and how we have to look at our shadow, which I talked about last week. And God bless everyone that was harmed this week. I really pray for you, and God bless you. For all the people that have been hurt this past week that have passed away also. The dark demons came out a lot last week, and as November entered, like I spoke of, these shadows are still here. And the only way to move past our own shadow is to talk to our shadow and deal with it and hug our shadow and say, I understand why you reacted the way you did. I understand. And now I'm here, and I love you, and I forgive you. And if you can say that to yourself, you will be ready for all the messages that are going to be coming in from now until March as the outer planets wake up and the personal planets continue to whip around. And the moon has many aspects coming up next week also. The moon's going to really help us emotionally, because the moon rules over people, the people. Okay, the sun rules over our egos, right? But the moon rules over people as a whole because it affects all of us where it's at. So this week, after the moon leaves Leo, it's going to go into Virgo, and it's going to meet up with Venus, who's getting ready to leave Virgo. So when it meets up with Venus, it's also going to have an opposition to Neptune. And it's going to get to the point where emotionally we're also going to get foggy and not know what we're thinking about emotionally. And then the moon's going to move into Libra, and then it's going to move into Scorpio. And then we're going to have a new moon in Scorpio. And when that occurs, even though eclipse seasons are over now, it's going to feel like an eclipse according to the astrologists, because of all the potent outer planets that are awake that will be opposing the moon in Scorpio with the sun and Mars. We have a lot of deep diving still to do in Scorpio season. It's going to take until the end of this year to really start to see some of the patterns that we may have been stuck in that we didn't know we should release, but we haven't yet. There's a bunch of things happening in that way. So I wanted to read from this book, the numerology book, which is a great book one of my friends gave to me a long time ago. And I want to talk about the number 8, because this Scorpio is linked to the number 8. Okay, so the number 8, numerology wise, this is a great book. It's an antique book. I don't know if you can even find it anymore. My friend Jill found it for me in Florida in an old bookstore. So here we go. Wants big affairs and the power to handle them. Wants success in all material matters. Loves organization, construction, finances. Loves the huge operations of the commercial world. Loves to manage and direct. Has the ability for great achievement and accumulation. Is generous, large-minded, powerful, and dependable. Has strength, enthusiasm, courage, poise, and determination. Loves to struggle against opposition. Confident of victory. May be dominant and exacting, but never spares himself. May be fond of money and display, but is a cornerstone of the community. has vision and imagination for making efforts pay, is efficient, executive, and of excellent judgment, is a power for good. All eights need to cultivate justice and toleration for the weaker and less efficient. So the eight is likened to the king in The Cards of Destiny by Robert Kant. The eight is a powerful life path number. Tolerance-wise, not very high for certain things that they find silly. I read before that the Scorpio has three phases of life because it's ruled by Mars and Pluto. And the first phase is that it's a Scorpio, and it's a symbolic sign. When you look up Scorpio, you'll see that. And I remember reading this in a book a long time ago, and Molly McCord, one of the astrologers I watched, talked about it too. And so the Scorpio is the animal, it's the stinger that hides in the sand, comes out and sunbathes, and if you get near it, it'll sting you because it's only trying to survive. That's the first phase of a Scorpio's life. The second phase is the gray lizard. The gray lizard has been attacked, has fought back, but doesn't want that life. So they hide all the time. They never come out. They never exert their energy. They exert their energy on themselves. And in that, they start to destroy themselves. And then the third one is the Phoenix rising. And that is the Scorpio's power with Pluto. And Pluto is nuclear energy. So with that energy, now that we know how nuclear energy is made, we know that it has to do with atoms being split, and a tiny little atom that we can't see gets split and creates this tremendous power. Scorpio has that power, as it's called alchemy, to change lead into gold. And it is a water fixed sign. So how does it turn lead into gold? It's not that. It's the symbolism of turning yourself, your heart, from being reactive, from being done with the world and hiding and getting angry, because you're turning the energy inside instead of letting it out. Because if you let it out, you can see that when you love yourself and you forgive yourself, which is what a water sign is about, emotions, when you dig deep and look at your shadow and you can forgive yourself, you become changed and your heart becomes the heart of gold that we're all searching for. That person that can love unconditionally. Now, that doesn't mean that person's perfect. Don't ever think a human is perfect, ever. It just means that they know what they're capable of, the deep love that they can truly share as truly, truly unconditional. When we talk about unconditional love, it means that when you adopt a dog, you love that dog and you don't hurt the dog. You take care of the dog, and that dog's yours forever. You adopted it. You can't kick it out of your life. Get rid of it. And that's why there's so many children in the world that need love today, because there's not enough unconditional love in the world. Otherwise, there'd be no wars. Because if you can forgive yourself and forgive others and not go by that old standard, as some astrologers have said, an eye for an eye goes way, 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 way back to when we were all just Scorpios in the sand trying to protect ourselves. But as our emotions, our mind have gotten higher, we know that we can love at a higher level. So thank you for being here this week. I'll be back next week, and that is when we will talk about other things happening. Is Mars will be getting ready to move into Sagittarius. Join me next week. as the new moon occurs in Scorpio, opposite of Uranus in Taurus. And that is going to be an earth-shaking opposition that you must tune in to see what's going to happen there. Okay, so that'll be next week. Thank you for being here. I appreciate you. Please subscribe, like, and comment. I'd love to connect, and thank you to everyone else who's connected with me. I really appreciate you. And I will be back next week.